Irony of one situation is setting on other people's here. The these interviews are conducted at the old information counter. It can result in not securing wrong information because they hedge to get an American correct answer. So the return could possibly be prepared incorrectly. There are 3 empty interview booths within 20 feet of that information counter. They are used by collection personnel mainly when they take an interview. Occasionally, they are used by TSA specialists on long, complicated returns.
The average case, you have used those interview booths.
I have used an interview booth possibly in the last 9 months.
Now, is there anything you want to say about the price?
Yes. It gets back to the low-income person and the lower-paid person. There is discrimination in this area. A well-educated person, there is one coming into the office, maybe to discuss a business tax situation. He doesn't want everybody else overhearing this specific question. He'll ask for a private interview booth. In most cases, he'll get it because he knows he's entitled to this and he's going to insist on it. The low-income taxpayer doesn't realize that if he insisted, we would take him to a booth.
Would you have some concerns about discrimination generally in the treatment of the taxpayers in the office? Could you briefly elaborate on those?
I think the best source here would be one example in the past filing season. I was on duty in the self-help room, the only employee. Every booth was filled. These are little corrals, not really interview booths, similar to voting booths. Everyone was filled with probably 20 taxpayers. There were taxpayers standing around the room. I was helping the individual taxpayers that we are permitted to give self-help to, and direct help, the blind or handicapped, aged, senile, illiterate, people like that. We are permitted to do their returns in full. The others, we have to insist they help themselves to the as great extent as possible. At the time, I had a blind lady at my desk doing her return completely. Obviously, she couldn't do it herself. She had an ill husband waiting in the reception area for it. So I was working as rapidly as I could. Very simple form. It wasn't going to take long. But at the same time, answering questions for all these other people as they asked questions. My on-site supervisor interrupted my interview with the blind lady, took me aside, informed me I was spending too much time on direct help. The people were to be helping themselves. That particular period of time, 75 minutes, I had prepared 19 returns, 5 of them on direct help basis, answered 10 different taxpayers' questions, 10 individual interviews. In other words, I had helped 29 people in 75 minutes, an average of 3 minutes per person. This same on-site supervisor, later in the same period of time, took a businessman into the booth, spent 6 hours preparing a very complicated return with 8, 9, 10 schedules. To me, this is not equal treatment for the taxpayers.
We'll go on to the other area. Could you briefly discuss the personnel situation in the lawsuit?
Yes, sir. It has been stressed over and over, and it was also stressed here this morning by Mr. Bickerstaff, that within the taxpayer service specialist area and within the taxpayer service representative area, the taxpayer service specialists are the elite cadre of our service. They are to handle the more difficult, more complex taxpayer questions and tax preparation. I didn't tell you that the first day on the job, a person with no tax training, no tax experience can be designated a taxpayer service specialist, while a person with 25 years experience can be designated and is designated a taxpayer service representative.
Elaborate on that. Was that the civil service regulations?
I heard the explanation on that. I'm not sure I understand it. I can relate as it relates to the tax office. In June of 75, this year, when the program went into effect, the 2 employees selected as taxpayer service specialists over more experienced personnel. At that point, one of those had been told 2 months after the selection, her qualifications or his qualifications did not meet minimum standards for taking the PACE examination, which is the entry-level examination given by civil service for this particular program. It's the qualifying examination. Yet this person was selected as a specialist over other employees who had no qualifications other civil service stands.
Without really working about, is it your statement that there are some personnel that are TSS's post office who have less experience and background in taxpayer systems than there are some TSRs?
Yes, not just in the tax area. I mean, their overall qualifications for any civil service position at that particular, what we consider semi-professional, professional level are inadequate.
We have learned one time, the witnesses that are here today, we heard a statement, possibly in consideration, see what problems are there. I believe you have some concerns on the referral technical questions. Could you briefly elaborate on those?
Yes, this gets back, then I can relate how it affects the tax office. In June of '75, these new selectees, who incidentally have only basic training, a 3-week course, were designated this referral resolution point. We're talking about the formal training pre-filing course.
Now, I believe the witness earlier testified that is a 6-week course, correct?
If it's 6 weeks, it has been changed since I took it. It was 3 weeks when I took it. The schedule I have here with me this morning indicates it's 3 weeks. I don't know if it has been expanded.
Let's check it out.
Right. But regardless, it will be basic taxpayer service course. This was their background. At this point, they are designated. Incidentally, all these plans, as they come out of the national office, will establish an excellent taxpayer service section of taxpayer services system for the public if they're implemented the way they're intended. And on this referral resolution point, it's a perfect program. It falls down when you put inexperienced people in it. In the tax office, the one manning the taxpayer referral resolution point, supposedly for the more complex tax questions, has 6 weeks training. I really don't, it could be changed. I would have 6 weeks training, but nevertheless, in the basic course, there is no training given in using referral reference books like Premise Hall Tax Service and Commerce Period Tax Service, Internal Revenue Code, Internal Revenue Bulletin. This is not covered in the basic training.
Is that based upon experience when you took the course or your current information?
It would be experience when I took the course.
How long ago?
I took it probably in October of '73.
So it's possible it wasn't
It is possible that those reference courses didn't update. I don't know. At the time, they said they hadn't had it, so I don't know.
So the general question is that
The ones who do the research.
And the referral resolution point may not have their background to justify being in that type of position.
Yes. So you can recognize when a question would be above their level. I can use one perfect example. A PSR trainee needed an answer to something. The taxpayers in the office. That's a simple one. An Indian has some royalty income, a headlight income. She didn't know whether it was or was not taxable. She goes to the referral resolution point. What kind of income is it? Well, a headlight, that's oil royalty. Royalty is taxable. She tells the girl it's taxable. She goes back and taxes the man on his return. She didn't quiz what type of headlight he had. There are some Indian headlights that are non-taxable because of cases with the government. Red Eagle versus the U.S. is one of them. That type of a headlight royalty income would not be taxable. This happened to be that type. I had told her it was not taxable. She went to a referral resolution and was told it was taxable. The man was taxed.
So that brings one of your attention that sometimes they don't have a background at that level.
The girl did the research. She did research for that.
I think you've got some concerns about phone answering service, so that may have been brought out earlier. Just briefly go over that, please.
Well, just this morning before I came in to hear it here, I tried calling a number that was mentioned in one of the news releases because it's not a number that is used for TOSA. It's not an TOSA directory as our information number. It had been given as a number for any Oklahomans outside Oklahoma City to use.
This was a press release.
This was in a press release.
Put out by who?
Mr. Bickerstaff.
District office.
Yes, sir. The number in most of our publications for TOSA is 581-7141. If a person calls that, it's not a working number. They're referred to 583-5121. This is the number that rings in Oklahoma City. The number in the news release for all other Oklahomans to use other than Oklahoma City residents was 962-3456. If I were a taxpayer, I know that I myself would know really which number I'm going to use. I tried that number this morning. The number rang. It was obviously lifted up at the other end of the line. There was no sound that anyone was answering the call. There was background noise. There was talk going on. Something about Wheeler, and I could hear IRS. I knew I had the IRS office, but all I ever got was background noise. No one answered me as an individual. I think possibly it might have been because of the numbers, I don't know. I could hear, not on my call, but again in the background, someone answering Internal Revenue Service information.
General assistance back in your statement here on the record indicates some of the service concerns that you were dedicated employee of the service have. So just a brief summarization by which respect.
Yes, it hasn't been mentioned here this morning that there's a new manual supplement dated March 31st, 76, indicating collection duties which taxpayer service personnel may perform in the future. When the taxpayer service program first came into existence, it was stressed to us in no way were we to take any action or take any duties that would identify us in the eyes of the public as collectors. We were to be assisters. If they identified us as collection personnel, they would be more reluctant to come in and avail themselves of the service. It appears from this that there's going to be more and more collection duties that taxpayer service people will be doing. It's my hope they're not going to be on the front line or visible to the public, that it'll be at least duties out of view of the public, so the ones who know us personally over the years of coming into the office will then cease being assisters and become collectors. This concerns me. I would like to make one comment before I go further. Less than six months ago, when I attempted to secure the services of an attorney in court cases I will be filing against Internal Revenue, at that point, the attorney was concerned of how this might affect him or anyone else having my case. He was intimidated by fear with the Internal Revenue Service. I assured him no such intimidation would occur. This is rumor, it just does not happen. 1 year later, I had to admit to him it does happen.
Ms. Patrick, thank you for just like I said, your full statement being true as part of the record. Respect staff, would you like to respond to any of these comments, particularly that March 31 directive that Mr. Patrick mentioned?
Mr. Chairman, I feel that it would be inappropriate, even improper for me to respond to any statements that Mrs. Fitzpatrick has made here this morning. She has availed herself of her privilege to file a grievance with the Internal Revenue Service, and her case is being adjudicated now by the Civil Service Commission. I will say that our position, I think, is pretty well stated. And
I'm not interested in comment on her particular case, but the only questions I have really interested in is the March 31 directive. Are tax assisters now getting into the collections process? Is this new, and what's the reason for that?
That's the donation of functions. All in our call operators is not getting them into collection. We're going to tell you about the responsibilities of the TSRs and TSSs in the collection area have been delineated, and if Mr. Lawler, I think we have that pretty well documented here, and I think we can respond to that.
Yes. The problem of whether or not to use taxpayer service people in enforcement work is
been considered for some time in the national office. They recently issued a delineation document. It puts strong restrictions on the types of work that a TSR or TSS may do in enforcement in corrections. They can work such things as delinquency investigations. They can call and secure information. They cannot serve levies. They cannot be witnesses on seizures and the like. Now, in our district, in particular, Tulsa does not present a problem because we have not detailed any of the TSSs or TSRs to collection. Now, it does establish a primary duty of a TSS or TSR to be responsive to notice inquiries, and that's part of their work. That's not collection. If a taxpayer calls them and says, I can't pay, I can pay in 60 days, well, they have the authority there to approve it right on the spot. So it delineates the two functions and puts in some definite restrictions on what TSS and TSRs can do. I don't have the document with me.
One document is a national directive.
Yes, that is a national directive.
Could you furnish a copy to us?
Yes, sir, we will, and I might reiterate here that we have not found it necessary to detail a TSR or TSS2 collection duties. Although this national directive gives us that option. And as a matter of fact, when TSRs and TSSs in their capacity as such deal with these matters, they're merely being responsive and helpful to the taxpayer. For example, if a taxpayer drives 60 to 100 miles into the office and our revenue officer is not there, and he wants to leave certain things and to execute certain documents on his own initiative, then our TSSs and TSRs may assist him in that respect to prevent his having to make another trip. But this is to provide services, not to require him to pay the tax or to prepare financial statements or any other enforced collection activity.
The only other statement I'd like to make is we had some hearings a year or so ago, and the same question about the privacy of taxpayers coming into the IRS office in Tulsa was raised, and feeling that there wasn't adequate privacy to discuss matters of personal concern. And I wish you would look into that. I think we wrote you on that following those hearings. I'd like to have a report back on what can be done to improve privacy questions in the Tulsa office and anything else in the district.
Mr. Rupert, would you make a note of that, and we'll furnish the Congressman with our response?
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, sir.
Citizens that raise their hand would like to make a statement. We don't want to cut you short, but if we give you 5 minutes each, I've got other comments that I have to make, so Mr. Grant, would you like to come forward? Hold 5 minutes. If you have a particular individual tax problem, I may ask to cut you short and deal with you privately in my office.
Well, I wish I had the answer for a private I tried to get one with Senator Bell 3 years ago, and his secretary referred me to the Small Business Association. That didn't help me at all.
But is your statement have to do with your particular tax situation?
Yes, sir, it does.
Yes,
sir, the particular one that's urging me right now is that the IRS has filed a lien on my home. And
what may I suggest to you, for your own, I'm not saying protection, but I want to make sure that your legal rights are preserved and not hindered by this particular hearing. May I suggest to you, if it is on an individual case, that as soon as we adjourn this hearing, that you meet with Mr. Jacobson, who
in my office right around the corner. He is the tax advisor on the Ways and Means for my office.
He's not a member of the IRS.
No, he's on my side.
I'm trying to talk to this Mr. Jones that was up there. I was in financial trouble and attempted to make a loan on my home, but because of this lien that filed against my home over a corporation where I was a general manager, I wasn't even a member of the corporation, but they wouldn't release it so I could make a loan to get myself out of the woods.
Well, let's get the facts from you privately, and then we'll take it up as an individual basis.
I'm just real sorry I didn't talk to you sooner, sir.
All right, we'll do it right after this. Okay?
Should I leave and come back and meet this gentleman here?
If you just want to stay right there, we'll adjourn here briefly, and then you can walk right around the corner of our office.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Fitzgerald, you don't have a copy of the,
We gave you one.
yes. This lady here, would you fall in the same category as Mr. Stratton, or?
No, I haven't had any particular on my agenda.
All right, if you'd like to make it, and I would like to caution you not to mention names, but anything else. Okay, would you like to come on up here?
You like my name?
Yeah. Give your name, identify where you live, or occupation.
My name is Lincoln Ryan. I'm a professional licensed practical nurse. I work for the Industrial Corporation. I have nothing in specific, but just generalities. You can call the IRS in the local cost office. You can call all these numbers, and you'll put them on hold, and you'll see you next week. I had one employee that was disabled 6 months, and his disability was effective 6 months, and his wife took his papers because he had open heart surgery, and he owed the IRS $179 at the end of the year. And his total bill was $53,000 on open heart surgery. And I said, where did you take your income tax to for help for completion? She said, we went down and we got somebody down at the IRS to help us complete it. This man's 62 years old, very uneducated. And she wasn't too educated either. And there isn't anybody can tell me that man owed $8,000 to $10,000 on medical bills that the insurance didn't take out. I was disabled 6 months, and he was making $5.78 an hour, and he owed the IRS $179.
What was the disposition of that case? Do you know?
He retired.
Did he pay the IRS $179?
Yes. In my corporation, we have 400 employees. And they make, I'd say, a living wage. But I have numerous ones that come in and they, and you go get your CPA, and you take off what is you're entitled to. When you once get on that list, you're going to get audited every year. Now, they take the generalities and they do the computers. I realize that, but that's the way it is. I know because I've been there for 3 years. That's all I know, sir.
Let me tell you what I was going to say. I said at the outset, it's been my experience that voluntary taxes, the vast majority of the IRS operations are carried out exceptionally well. I'm very concerned about the instances when taxpayers feel that they're harassed, feel that they're not given proper treatment, or any other instances where there should be administrative changes so that service is actually